Hey guys, Eric Smith here with a film breakdown for new Dolphins offensive lineman, Jamaree Salyer. And first off, you can find me both on YouTube and X under at OL Coach Smith 63. On that, I do a podcast with Anthony Testino called Focused on Fins. And you can also find me on the Five Reasons Sports Network, where I do a podcast with Hassam Patel and Eric Wiedeke called Scouting the Fins. And you can find that one both on the Five Reasons YouTube, as well as the 3 Yards Per Carry podcast feed. So this video is not going to be in depth on the history of Jamaree Salyer. That's already been done. I think this video is going to be long enough as it is. What it is going to be is a film review of what I feel he can and can't do, and why I feel like his best position is left guard. And you might say we already have a left guard in second round pick from last year, Jonah Savaiinaya. And there's been a lot of fans that already want to move him to right guard and feel like that's going to be an easy way to fix him. And I don't think that that is true. I don't agree with that. I don't think that moving him to the right side is a magic pill. I think the issues that he showed on the left side this year would have been the same on the right side as well. But I don't think that it hurts either. And while I wouldn't have done that in season, I have no issues if they decide to do it during the offseason here. And I do think that Jonah, as the fifth offensive lineman, especially on the right side, can still be a really good player. I talked about throughout the year that I felt like they had to give too much help to the right side with Cole Strange and Larry Borum, and that kind of exposed Jonah more than he really needed to be. So if you can get back to a situation where he is the fifth offensive lineman and you can slide that help to him, I think that, if you put him on the right side with Austin Jackson, who needs that help as well, then you can leave the left side to, kind of handle their business a little more than what you could have done in the past. But regardless, I do think the team still needs another NFL caliber guard, whether that's a starting right guard and they let Jonah compete with somebody on the left, or whether the team considers Salyer the front runner for that left guard position and they bring somebody in for Jonah to compete with on the right. No matter what, you need a third option to be able to come in, whether it's from performance, for injury. Always need extra bodies on the offensive line. But this video is not about Jonah, right? So if you're not familiar with me, why should you trust my opinion? A lot of it goes back to just how involved I am with the film for the Dolphins offensive line. I grade every snap for the Miami Dolphins offensive lineman for each one of them. And I've done that over the past 4 to 5 seasons with my own grading system. And I'm not going to get too far into that because I do have other videos that go in and break that down. But I've been doing video reviews of those grades for the past 2 years, plus individual player breakdowns on YouTube over that time as well. I am a high school offensive line coach, obviously not NFL, but I'm always watching both college and NFL film and clinics and try to find stuff that can benefit my guys. I've been coaching offensive linemen for over 20 years and I've had opportunities for, offensive coordinator, even a little bit of, head coaching stuff, but offensive line's always been where my passion is and that's where I like to be. So as far as Jamaree Salyer, I have watched every one of his 449 offensive snaps from 2025, and those include snaps at left tackle, right guard, and right tackle. And on my initial review, what I do is I pull every snap that I think might be relevant to a film review, and that ended up somewhere between 175 to 200 plays, and then I start grouping them into folders of both good and bad examples of, a variety of blocks. And the stuff we'll talk about on this video is pass blocking, both speed and power, pass blocking, handling stunts. And then we get into the run blocking. It's going to be front side and back side of zone blocking. It's going to be pulling. It's going to be climbing to linebackers, drive blocking, and also down blocking. And then after I, filtered all those into the folders, we're down to 139 plays that I kept, but we're not going to go through every single one of them. Some of those folders only have 2 examples and others have, 10 or more. So I'm going to try to keep it at no more than 5 reps for what I'm trying to show. So the video doesn't get absurdly long. It's going to be long no matter what, but I'm going to try to limit it as much as I can. But when you go back to that, you're going to say, but I said, me, right, said that his position, best position, is left guard, a position he didn't play at all in 2025, and a position that he only has 20 career snaps out of 2,000, over 2,000, right? So, as I was watching all of his plays in 2025, if I remember correctly, he was playing at right guard first and then right tackle. And I'm like, yeah, this is a player he could work. He could be a good depth piece. And then he switched over to left tackle for the last several games. And I'm like, this is a lot different. Like, he looks a lot more comfortable, a lot more natural on that side. So I really actually see him as a possible starting caliber NFL left tackle. Not a Pro Bowl level, but a starting level. And that's obviously not available in Miami with Patrick Paul manning that position. So the next best thing would be to put him at left guard. And I think that's something that you'll be able to see why I'm saying that in the film review as we look at a variety of the good and bad snaps doing different things throughout the course of the season. This is not going to be a short video where we, show a few snaps and ask you to trust what I'm saying. It's not going to be a highlight video where I try to convince you that Salyer is a Pro Bowl level player in this system. And the reality is that we don't know what this system is. We have an idea. We've seen Bobby Slowik call an offense in the past, but we don't know how much of it will carry over. We know there's going to be outside zone elements, but we've also seen, some of the branches of that Shanahan tree veer away from that same level of commitment to the outside zone that, Kyle Shanahan and Mike McDaniel have shown. So right now it's just about finding good football players. And I think we do have a good one in Jamaree Salyer. His floor, as I see it, is a utility backup player at four positions on the offensive line. And I do think he's better at the left side, but he's a competent stopgap on the right side, much the same way that Larry Borum and Kendall Lamb were in recent seasons for the Miami Dolphins. So I think it's a very good signing that will bring value to this roster, one way or another. But for now, let's get into this film review. All right, first thing we're going to look at is good pass block reps against speed rushers. And I had 13 clips total pulled, one of those at right guard, one at right tackle, and then the other 11 were all at left tackle. And this is one place I definitely think that his comfort on the left side really shows up. So in this first clip, we're going to have Salyer here at your right guard position. And again, this is the good side of it. So you can see that he is doing a good job against a speed rusher of running him upfield and, running him past the quarterback, maintaining that pocket integrity, not getting challenged with power here, but doing a good job against a quicker player just running him upfield. Next snap here is going to be at right tackle. And you can see again, doing a solid job, right? Doesn't look super comfortable getting out there in space. Gets a little bit of pushback, but decent job recovering. Feet are not the greatest here, but good enough to get the job done. Again, taking a speed rusher, running around the quarterback. That's a good rep. And now the last three reps here are all going to be as the left tackle. And from the beginning there, you can see like that's a very similar rep to the last one we watched at the right side. But you can see that the feet just look a lot more comfortable. He's not getting that knockback with the long arm there on the left side. So just a lot more comfortable on the left side than he was to the right. Another one here from the left side. And again, just patience, right? He's not getting deep too quick. He's not getting wide too quick. Kind of setting up with a hand to the inside, expecting maybe a stunt, but once that stunt's not there, you can see the comfort that he has in just maintaining that and keeping that defender to the outside. And then one more here. So this is again going to be as the left tackle against the Eagles. And on this one, what we're going to get is that the defender tries to go to the inside, and Salyer does a good job again with that. You can see that he gets a little bit of width on that pass set, but he's not out of control. So when the defender goes back to the inside, he's able to adjust quickly and send him back into the help. So again, I think that just off the bat, you can see that those different positions, right guard, right tackle, left tackle, that left tackle is where he is the most comfortable of the three, especially playing on the edge out here as the left tackle. And then on to the bad reps versus speed rushers. So for this, I pulled 6 total clips. The balance came out to 2 at right guard, 2 at right tackle, and 2 at left tackle. So on this one, you can see ends up getting called for a holding penalty, sets to the inside, a little bit slow getting back outside to that counter move, ends up having to hold there, gets the penalty called. Next one here again going to be at right tackle against Dexter Lawrence, and we're going to see something kind of similar here. He's going to set to the inside. Lawrence is going to go to the outside, and Salyer is not able to flip the hips and get there. Ends up forcing Justin Herbert out of the pocket. And then from the right tackle here, again, you got somebody to the outside there, and he's in decent position to start, but you can see that he's not balanced enough to be able to handle those counter moves and spins back inside, able to make the pressure the quarterback. And then we get another one from right tackle here again against Von Miller. And now this time just, not quick enough going to the right to be able to run him all the way around the edge. Gives up the sack. And then last one here is going to be against Chason from the Patriots. And again, this is going to be one where not able to handle that speed move back to the inside. And I think that, really, I wouldn't put this one completely on Salyer, because what should have happened here with this left guard pulling out is that everybody should have been working back to the backside here. Bozeman should not have followed him across his face, should have had the guard coming back down through here, and should have had a little bit of help from Bozeman here to chase on. But at the same time, you can see that Salyer is following Chase on the whole time, and whether he expected to have help there or not, he was completely focused on there. Once he sees there is no help, need to, in a perfect world, right, if it was a high level left tackle, we would see him be able to kind of set his feet to run and just kind of run to widen him out. And you see that Salyer is not really able to do that. So again, just some bad reps too from the speed perspective. And this, I think, in a lot of ways, would be covered up if you put him on the inside. Another part of this, as far as inside versus outside, was that I don't have the penalty numbers, but there were several false starts and a few holding penalties. But most of those false starts were from him playing at tackle, where he felt like he needed to get out of his stance too soon. And I think that by moving him to the inside, that you kind of cover that up as well. Next, we're going to look at him handling power in the pass rush game, and this is going to be the good snaps first. I had 24 clips pulled total. Most of them were at left tackle. A few of them were at right guard. I don't think any were at right tackle, but this is one place that he, really kind of shines as a left tackle, is his ability to anchor and handle the pass rush. I think that's something that's going to carry over well if they were to put him at left guard. So first one there, you can see just very effortless handling the power. Here's one of those reps from the right guard perspective. And you can see, kind of jumping out here, being aggressive with it. And this was actually the one time of those 400 plus snaps I saw him using this snatch technique. So he does have it in his bag, but not something he uses very often. Another one here at right guard, looking at Dexter Lawrence again. And here you can see that he's just doing a better job of kind of dropping those hips, getting the hands engaged. And yeah, he's giving up a little bit of ground, but we're talking about, a very good player here that he's able to negotiate through that. Out here at left tackle again. And on this one, So the long arm is one of the things that he does struggle a little bit. I think that we're going to have some of those in the the power pass rush negative snaps. But on this one, you can see that defender's getting that long arm there, but that he's not panicking, right? He's dropping those feet, pushing that chest out, and he's eventually able to stop the progress. Now, it does force Herbert out of the pocket, but again, I told you this isn't a Pro Bowl level player. This is a starting caliber player, and at left tackle. So when you can recover in this way, right, and we've seen plenty of offensive linemen in Miami not be able to recover and stop this. So it's a valuable thing to have in your tool bag to be able to recover from that long arm. And then last one here for the good snaps versus power that we're going to look at. And again, on this one, you can see he's getting out there in space a little bit and just very comfortable, right? We're looking at a wide 9 alignment. He's got an outside shade here. He's trying to get out to this defensive end. And you can see that just very comfortable in the set. And then once he gets there, the feet aren't great. Don't necessarily like how he's, the feet are still forward, but the shoulders are starting to turn there. But he does a good job of, once engaged, kind of hopping back, resetting that anchor, and again, right, just completely able to stymie that rush to the point that there shouldn't even be considered a pressure there. So overall, just like his ability to handle the power, regardless of position, but especially from the left tackle position. Now looking at the poor reps versus power in pass pro, had 11 of them total. I think had a couple more at right guard than I did at left tackle. So first one here, this is going to be a really ugly rep and didn't exclude it, right? I want to give you a full picture, but I also want you to realize that this is the only time that this happened the entire season, right? And this was, looks like he was trying to get a jump set to the outside, then trying to come back to the inside. Just completely off balance there. Playing at right guard, again, it did happen, but this was the only time it happened last season. And we've seen this happen a lot more to Miami Dolphins offensive linemen. So again, here at right guard, and what we're going to get on this one is kind of similar, right? Working out in space on the right side, trying to work out to that 4-eye, 5 technique defensive tackle. And again, right, as he's widening out, the feet are not really set that well. And you can see that left foot kind of crosses behind the right foot, and that's just bad news at that point. And then, trying to reset, not the worst job there, but definitely not something I'm going to put under the good reps. And then another one at right guard here. And on this one, right, bumped a little bit there, but and maybe a slip, right? If you kind of watch that left foot, right, was there no slip, just you know poor footwork again, right? Feet getting too narrow as he's walking back again. That left foot crossing over towards that right side, then getting bumped. Just not a good rep, not good feet there in terms of keeping a wide base and anchoring back down. And then we talked about that long arm. I think we're going to have one here. So this is out at left tackle, and this is where some of my concerns come with him playing on the edge there. Not necessarily a long arm. I think the next rep's going to be a better example of it. But you can see that Brandon Graham is not the longest defensive end, and that if an edge gets extended, there can be times that Salyer can struggle to reset that anchor. But again, one of those things I think is kind of masked on the inside. I think this is probably going to be the best example of the long arm that we have. And right there, you see it. That left arm is extended from that edge player, and Salyer, just with a lack of length, kind of struggles to regain that. So, again, there was plenty of good stuff, more good than bad, handling the power, even though we reviewed the same number of reps. But there is enough there that, you know, I think that Salyer can get by as a left tackle. Not a very big fan of him on the right side, but I do think that when you look at his ability to handle power, especially guys that get a running start and can get that long arm in there, I think those are things that would look better on the interior than what they do at tackle. All right, now we're going to look at when he does a good job picking up stunts. So on this first one, he is here at right guard, and you can see that we're getting a 3/4 slide to the right because you got the left guard and everybody over sliding to the right side. So Salyer is responsible for the B gap here. And you can see that he does a good job, right? Kind of putting a feeler hand out there, but not chasing that defensive tackle to the backside. Still has eyes out here to the B gap. And as it sorts out, he does a good job picking up his guy and giving Herbert a chance to get the ball out of there. So we'll watch it again here at full speed. And as you see, right, setting to the right, defending that B gap, waiting for what's coming to him. Next one here, another rep at right guard. And this was again in that matchup against the Giants where he spent a lot of time against Dexter Lawrence. And on this one, it kind of looks like a half slide protection, might just be a 5-0 protection where all 5 of them are responsible for one guy that's up on the line of scrimmage. But you can see here that Salyer is setting to his right, either looking at the B gap or number 0 here. But as 0 crosses back to the inside, you can see that Salyer is doing a good job of working back to the inside to Lawrence. The center, Bozeman, does not do a good job. He chases Bozeman the whole way, and that puts him into a bad position. But from Salyer's perspective, he's doing a good job here of seeing his guy crossing over and taking over with the defensive tackle. Now we're getting Salyer out here at right tackle. And we're going to get maybe not an intentional twist here, but we're getting a chip from Hampton on the end that Salyer's supposed to have. And as he spills over into Becton on the inside, right, we're not going to chase that all the way through because we get the defensive tackle coming to the outside and just doing a good job there with his footwork, staying balanced and being able to work back to the outside. Now we get Salyer out here at left tackle. And on this one, we are going to get a full slide to the left. Everybody here is working to the left. So again, Salyer is going to have anything to the outside here. But as he starts to set, his defender's dropping. There's no reason to keep widening that out. So he can work back to the inside and just picks up that defensive end. Probably would have liked to see the guard stay out here a little more, right? Just to check that a little further. But because Salyer doesn't get too wide, chasing this guy out here, he's able to easily just take that over. And then last one here for the good reps on picking up stunts again out here at left tackle. And you can see the number 21 there was kind of walking up late. And we're getting the left guard sliding out with Salyer. And Salyer doesn't chase the defensive end inside. He knows he has the guard in here, right? So he just passes that off and is able to, kind of flip his hips. Not the prettiest rep there, but good enough to keep Herbert plenty clean to get that ball out of there. And then looking at the negative reps, picking up stunts, and most of these are going to occur when he's on the right side of the line. So this is one of the things that we, talked about a little bit, talking about him being better suited on the left side, particularly left guard, than as a right guard. And here you can see that he is setting out to this 5 technique, gets a little wide, ends up being too far out and almost panicking, chasing him back inside. And because of that, he's late getting back over, completely off balance and gives up a hit on the quarterback there. So just, feet look uncomfortable there, all over the place, ending up with a hit on the quarterback. Again, right guard on this one. And now we get another twist. They got the linebacker walked up there. Linebacker starts to the B gap, working out to the tackle. Salyer ends up turning his shoulders all the way, and he's not able to react back inside. And again, we're giving up a quarterback hit there from the right guard position. Another one against the Giants here, right guard again. And kind of the opposite here. Now we're getting the end crashing inside early, right? And then the linebackers looping back to the outside. But Salyer ends up staying with the linebacker and not being able to work inside there. And now again, right, combination of the two rushers ending up with a hit on the quarterback again because we're not sorting it out on the right side of the line. Same game, right guard again. And we look at this now, right? This should be a 5-0 protection. We got 5-on-5. So any twist should just be a 1-for-1 swap. And as you can see there, we get a twist on the right side. Lawrence is working to the outside. Salyer chases him again, turning all the way with him. And by the time he realizes what's going on, it is way too late. And we're giving up. Hit on the quarterback and a sack in the end. One more time, full speed. And then last one we're going to look at here. So this is a left tackle rep on this one. And here, this is why I like him at guard better than tackle. This is getting out in space. Look at how much space is created there. So when that defender crosses back to the inside, Sawyer's not in a terrible spot to chase him back in, but the idea of turning to chase that defensive end slanting inside and then being able to flip back out, right? That's going to be a tough thing for him to do. So again, talking about the positions that I see him being able to play, even though he does a little better on the left side initially here, that late reaction in space is why I think he's going to be even better suited as a left guard. And now as we get over into the run game side of things, this is going to be front side of outside zone. We're going to start with the good ones again. Here at right tackle, and on this one, you can see that Salyer is doing a decent job opening up. Not looking like the greatest athlete in space, but good relationship with the fullback here. Able to get that left hand into the chest, take that over, and work through that block. So it's more the tight end or fullback probably did a little more on this than Salyer, but still showing a good understanding of landmarks and where he needs to get to take over that combo block. Now we're over here on the left side, and this is going to be, again, good job of getting off the ball, right? This edge is going to stay to the outside. That's fine in zone blocking on the front side, so we're just going to widen him out further, and you can see that Salyer does a good job of that. And just looking at the movement that's created there. So that edge starts here on the hash mark, and as that play develops, we get him turned and run him 3-4 yards outside of it. So good rep there. Left side again, tightens again. And now this time we're getting out into space a little more. And this, again, right, not a dominating block here, but the reason that I'm including it with the good ones is just showing a good understanding of what we want out of the tackles in this outside zone. So he's working to the outside. It's a combo block between the tight end and the tackle. That end is staying out, trying to stick with the contain, so tackle's not going to chase him all the way out. Salyer gets his eyes up on the defensive back there and gets into a good position. And this ends up being a tackle for loss, or at least a no gain, but that's more from the backside pressure than what was happening on the front side of it with Salyer. Now we're getting a goal line run here, another zone to the left. And this is going to be another one where the, doesn't score. The overall play is not good. But if we zero it in on Salyer, he's getting off the ball, getting great position on the defensive end there and creating some push basically into the end zone, right? So not a good play overall for the Chargers, but good play for Sawyers and his left guard and Zion Johnson there of working up through that defensive end and linebacker. And then last one for the good reps, this is going to be against the Chiefs. And we've got Sawyers here at left tackle. And similar to that play that we looked at earlier, that defensive end is going to maintain that outside leverage. And looking where they're started now, going to widen it out nice and wide, get him outside of the numbers there. And another good rep here of opening up the front side of this zone play. Now we're going to look at some negative plays on the front side of zone runs. So on this one, you can see that he gets into okay position, right? But the feet are just kind of running sideways versus being able to run upfield. Can see that he's getting strung out here pretty far. You want to see him either be able to settle down and seal that or to run him upfield like towards number 27. Gets kind of a late tosser. I think he actually gets called for a holding penalty here. But in this scenario, just a situation where he's not athletic enough to win that position on the edge player. Next one here. Now he's going to be at right guard. And you can see that he gets knocked back into the backfield on the front side of this one. And that's obviously not a position that you want to be in. But again, right on the right side is where we see this type of stuff. We don't see him getting knocked back like that on the left side, even though we don't have, it's not perfect on the left side, but we don't see this type of loss on the left side of the line. Now we're on the left side against the Eagles. And this one's very similar to the first one. We're asking him to get out here on this, basically a wide 9 defensive end. And he's doing a good job off the ball, but the feet just aren't there to be able to continue to run through that. And we want this running back to be able to stay downhill through this point of attack, right through there. And obviously there was another block miss because Blankenship should not, or 32 here, should not be coming free, but Sawyer's got to do a better job of being able to either cut this off on the front side, right, as he gets there, working the hips around, or continue to run him upfield, but he doesn't have the open field athleticism to be able to keep running through that. Left side here again. And here he's just a little too hesitant in space, right? I think he knows where he needs to go, but this edge player kind of hesitates and it throws Sawyers off in space. So now he's putting a hand in there, and now he's completely out of position, right? A little just indecisive there on that play. So would have liked to see him just continue to be aggressive towards that, right? Had he done that and this running back had bounced it, right, it would have been cleaner. It works out, right? But I don't think that we're in great position from right there. If this edge player wasn't, peeking to the inside and cheating, he probably makes the play outside there because Salyer gets caught up with the defensive tackle. And, when we're looking at these, right, we're not always just playing the results. So this is one where the results are good, but the method to get there is not ideal from Salyer. And then last one here, again, working on the left side, working on an edge that's wider than him. And once again, like he is getting off the ball. He is in good position. Right from here, he just has to continue to wheel around and seal this defensive end inside or work upfield. But he's not able to do either. That defensive end is able to scrape over top and make the play. So just a lot of stuff you see there that kind of the more in the open field blocks when it comes to zone. I don't think that Sawyers has the athleticism. Again, you see the ugly losses on the right side. I think if you move him in here at left guard, you eliminate a decent amount of that. And then as you look at the good reps on the backside of zone play, so this is going to be going away from the direction that Sawyers is on. This one's going to be to the right. And you can see here that he's doing a good job, right? And the way that we talked about this on the front side, would have liked to be able to see him do this at times to be able to get to the inside of the defender here, flip the hips around, and settle down to open it up, right? He doesn't get pressed all the way inside there. This defensive tackle starts, basically in the middle of the logo there. Sawyers is able to get around with some help from the guard, and the defender basically stays where he is. So good job on the backside of the zone play here. So now he's going to be on the right side. Now we're working to the left. And this is what we want to see from him on the front side of those zone plays, where this defensive tackle is starting even with him. Sawyers gets off the ball, able to get the head across, good position, and we're working up field here, right? So now we're working against defensive tackles that aren't quite as athletic, and we can see that Sawyers is doing a good job of it on the backside. But I think, again, as a front side left guard, I think we're going to get similar results. So again, right guard here, similar idea. Right now he gets across, doesn't feel the pressure from that defensive tackle, so he's expecting the right tackle to be able to get there. So he can work up to the linebacker and doing a good job finding his target, getting that second level block and continue to wash him out of the play. And we get out there for a big gain from Hampton. Right side again, so this is going to be a zone to the left. And again, this play was not messed up because of Salyer. It was messed up because Gadsden's not able to seal this defensive end. But from Sawyer's perspective, he's doing a real good job of getting across, right? This is a one technique nose, but he's able to get across quickly, get the hips around, and remember, this is what we were looking for him to do as a tackle with a little more space. So you eliminate that space and it becomes something that he is capable of doing. And then last one here we've got for the good reps on the backside of zone. And again, just another example of he's getting off the ball, he's running with it. This defender has his head across, so we're just going to wash everything down. You can see that Sawyers maybe could help a little more there, but then he does a good job getting to this linebacker and helping to create some space for the running back here. Now we're looking at some negative reps from the backside of zone play. So here at right guard, play is going to be going to the left. And want to see him be able to win that leverage. But you can see that this defensive tackle in a 2-eye technique never quite wins the leverage completely. And this defensive tackle is just more athletic than him, able to run away from it and ends up coming all the way across to get into the play. So again, another scenario where the foot speed is not always the greatest. Got to be able to win off the snap. Next play here again, we are at right guard, so this is going to go to the left. And on this one, it's not an awful rep by Salyer here, but you can see that he's not getting around and winning that. Probably spending too long there before trying to get to the next level, but just not looking very athletic on the backside here, not really contributing to the play. Now we get him here at right tackle, so now he's trying to go to the left, and you can see the lack of athleticism here that, trying to chase down a athletic linebacker in Louvu from the backside is just going to be a losing strategy every time for Salyer. Here at right tackle again, in another scenario where he is out leveraged from the snap, the defensive tackle gets a solid jump. You can see that he's slanting that way right away, and Sawyer's just not able to get there. Ends up really affecting the play, right? So just another example where, especially working from tackle and trying to get all the way across there is not something that he's going to be able to do consistently. And then last rep here, so now this time he is at left tackle, working down to this three technique, and he starts out in an okay position, but the feet kind of stop from there. Need to be able to see those feet continue to run and create some vertical movement in that scenario. Next, we're going to look at Salyer pulling. And this is one of those scenarios where he kind of looks like Larry Borum when he gets into space. Borum might be a little better of an athlete, but what I mean is that when you get these guys out in space in a linear fashion, straight line, they can look fairly athletic as long as you're not asking them to change direction. So we see Salyer as the guard getting outside here, being able to work through and help, and then seal that off. Getting Salyer at right guard here. He's going to pull across on this one. Not huge explosion there, but getting to his spot, not losing ground. There weren't a whole lot of examples of that, but that was, good enough. On this one, we're going to get him getting to the outside. So he's at left tackle here. This is the Dolphins crack toss that we saw a lot. And the Chargers did this quite a bit against the Raiders. And Salyer looked pretty good getting out here into open field. We're going to get that again on this rep. And again, getting out here to the left side. And looking okay in space for a big guy. And then last one here. Now, this one I included more like a outside zone, but he's really turning and running. So I included this in the pulls just because it was kind of like a crack toss. I think we were supposed to get this edge pinned to the inside on the crack, but he's not able to get there. So Salyer does a good job of seeing that, right? Adjusting and creating the wall, right? I think we probably should have kept that inside here if we were Omari and Hampton and got vertical. But I thought this was a good rep from Salyer, just opening up and running and being able to at least adjust a little bit. But that's not something that we want to see him doing in the open field very often. And then just a couple of negative plays with him getting out into space and pulling. So right guard here, see him pulling across, right? So this is a jet sweep. So trying to make this look like a trap, but he's going to let that end go and try to work upfield. Want to see him be able to get to this linebacker, but similar to that play against the Commanders, not able to get up there and cut off that linebacker, just not that good of an athlete to be able to do it. And then last one here for the, I put it under pulls, but it's more so just open field stuff. This is going to be a screen to the left, and you can see, like I talked about, Salyer getting out in space and being linear, going in a straight line can look fairly athletic, but if you get him into space where he is, trying to make a decision or trying to change directions, then it's not going to be too pretty. Next up, we're going to do when he's climbing to a linebacker. So we got three good ones here, and these are going to be, the ones where we're not asking him to chase linebackers across the formation. So this is going to be what should be a trap play. This is just old school 24 trap. If you remember the old wing T days, we're supposed to have the center blocking back here. We, as the right guard Salyer, is going to fake here and then climb to 49, and then we seal number 52. But the center does not do a good job here. So, and neither does the guard, really. Sawyer's about the only one doing his job here. But Salyer does a good job of being able to react to this linebacker. Right? If he stays where he is at the snap, then we're going to get here and seal him to the left side of the offensive formation. But because this linebacker gets across, Sawyer's doing a good job of being able to see that, react to it, and just kind of wall him off. Not a good play, but from what Salyer was doing, it was a positive rep. Again, here at right guard. And now we're getting Salyer kind of helping a little bit here. This is just a power where we're trying to get a combo between the right guard, right tackle, working up to the backside linebacker, and we're pulling the guard and a tight end around to lead. So on this one, right, would have liked to see a little more. I think he gets a little stretched out. You can see right there in terms of creating some movement on this defensive tackle. But after that, he does a solid job of getting upfield and attaching to that linebacker, making that linebacker go over top. Where, if we can break through there, that linebacker's looking at 10 yards downfield before he's making a play. And then one more here. So this is going to be out here at left tackle. And this is a zone run to the left. And you can see that as Salyer is stepping out to the left, he knows the defensive end or this not end, he's a corner, safety, whatever this is being taken care of by the tight end fullback. So he's working the combo up to the linebacker. And he does a good job here of just being patient with it, right? We're not chasing 51 down to the inside. You got that arm out, making sure there's nothing coming between them, and then he just settles down and seals Bolton to the inside. So in those scenarios, Sawyer's okay working up to a linebacker. And then a couple of negative ones. So this is going to be similar to a play that we saw earlier where we're asking him to chase a linebacker down in space, and that's just not going to happen, right? They're trying to let this edge go, expecting him to slant to the inside. He's being left unblocked on purpose. So when Salyer is stepping down, he's going to want to try to get vertical and get to Zach Bond here. But from this position, this is a loss all the way for Salyer because he's never going to catch Bond moving to the edge there, and that's exactly what you get. And then the other rep that we have here for the negative climbing to linebacker one. So this is going to be a zone to the left. And as you can see here, just a bit of indecisiveness, right? I don't know if he knew for sure whether he was helping to the inside or the outside or which linebacker he was getting. Seems like maybe there was a little bit of post-snap motion that kind of confused Salyer here because he just kind of gets, stuck in position, working there, and then tries to get back to the inside, ends up being more in the way than actually helping the play on this scenario. So this was one where he was supposed to climb to a linebacker and just never got there. Next, we're going to look at drive blocking reps. So here's Salyer at left tackle, and you can see that he's not explosive off the ball. He's not creating initial push, but that leg drive, the movement that he's able to create with that secondary effort, that's another thing that I think is going to carry over well if he were to play inside at guard. Here he is at right tackle. And again, we see him being able to get off the ball and create movement on a defensive tackle there, right? We're moving him back 2-3 yards on an interior run. Gotta love that, right? At right guard here. And once again, not explosive off the snap, right? That initial pop is not creating a ton of room, but he's not losing ground and then continues to run the feet along with his right tackle in that scenario. And he's able to create some movement that allows the running back to get through. Left tackle here. And now this is more of a solo rep, but again, you can see that he latches on, the feet keep moving, and he's able to just kind of slowly create that movement as the play moves on. And then last one here for the good drive blocking reps at left tackle again. And same thing over and over again, right? He not just getting the knockback at the snap of the ball, but as the play continues, you can see the way that defensive tackle is straining, right? Dropping that leg. You can see the way that he is trying to hold his ground, but that Salyer is just able to continue to push that pile and create that movement. Just the kind of things that I think will translate well if he's able to move inside the guard and stay there. And then some negatives with the drive blocking, right? So on this one, he's stepping to the inside, doesn't get that initial push, and isn't able to regain that momentum. And you can see him getting knocked back into the backfield on that one. Again, here at right guard, not the worst rep, right? Probably would have liked to see the running back stay to the right there and help out the offensive line, especially had the tight end here gotten anything on number 22, but would like to see more from Salyer here as the right guard, creating a little more vertical movement with it. And then we're going to get him out here at right tackle on this rep. And on this one, right, the guard kind of leaves him out to dry. We should be seeing more of a combo here, getting a shoulder at least before he leaves to go up to that linebacker. But you can see that doesn't get the help. Salyer does a okay job, I guess, maintaining contact against Payne there, but would really like to see him be able to handle that a little better one-on-one, even if his guard leaves him out to dry. Now we got him over here on the left side. And this one, to me, I think, you watch, there's kind of a late shift here. You saw some kind of communication here with the guard. And then next thing you know, we're getting a shift. And then Johnson and Salyer end up swapping positions. I don't think that was necessarily what was intended on that play. And you get a little bit of confusion there, but an example of what should have been a play that once Salyer identifies the smaller Hunt here, would like to be able to see him just take him, be decisive, and just wash him down through there. Ends up not being able to maintain contact and lets him get in on the tackle. And then last one here for the negative drive blocks out here at left tackle. And again, right, just out leveraged here. I think he panics a little bit. The head kind of drops. And would like to see him just keep the head up and just run through this defensive tackle, just keep his feet moving. Instead, with his head down, that defensive tackle is able to spin and get back into the play. So we've obviously seen way worse snaps than what we've seen from Salyer out of these 5 plays in the Dolphins offense, but there are still places that he needs to improve as a drive blocker. And then last type of block we're going to look at is just a down block or a seal block. So these are along the same lines as the drive block, but more so looking to hold ground and let either linemen or running backs get around it. Here you can see that he does a good job of protecting that B gap on a counter play. Has Nakobe Dean walking up there late, able to adjust inside, get hands on him, and at least able to get the guard around. I think that Gadsden here tries to get a little too vertical early. I think that Gadsden probably should have followed the guard across the formation a little more, been able to clear that. Could have been a little better by Salyer, but thought it was a decent enough job of picking up a blitzing linebacker that didn't come till late. Now we're going to get him over here at right guard. So blocking down on this one technique, just sealing him to the inside. Does a good job getting off the ball. Feet aren't the greatest, but still shows some good strength there to be able to hold the point. At right guard here again. And now this is, more of a combo block, but where it ends up, like the way that he's able to kind of torque, stretch that right arm out, and just pin him to the inside. And on this one, we got him going against Daron Payne out here at right tackle. A long trap play here. So we're pinning Payne down here on the inside, pulling the guard across to kick out. And you can see that does good enough there against Daron Payne, a good run defender, to be able to get the running back through in the long trap. And then last one here for the good reps. This is going to be a pin and pull concept. And he does lose at the end of that rep, but felt like he did enough there to get the running back to the outside. Would have liked to see Johnson do a little better job. Either Johnson kicking out this defender or the running back be able to read what Johnson was trying to do. I think there was some miscommunication there that was more of an issue than Salyer on the seal block, the pin block on this pin and pull. And then just two more plays. These are going to be the negative down blocks. And this is a tough one. This is another pin and pull. Ideally, we're going to get Salyer pinning the defender inside here. And he starts out okay, but kind of the same issues we've seen pop up, especially when he has to play out here in space and that defensive tackle is able to work his way over top. And then last one here, again lined up at left tackle. And does a decent job from the beginning, and maybe don't put too much blame on him because he's getting some traffic on his backside there that may have affected it. But in the end, his defender is able to work his way back over top at the end there. So just didn't like that wrap that much from Salyer. All right, so that's going to wrap up the film review for Jamaree Salyer. And I hope that through that film review, you were kind of able to see what I'm seeing, where I feel like Salyer is more comfortable on the left side than he is on the right side, and also how some of his issues come up when you put him in too much space. I think those things combined are why it makes sense for me for him to get a chance to start at left tackle or left guard, I'm sorry, for the Dolphins. And I think that where that competition comes in is if you either in the draft or as we continue through free agency, you get a day one starter at right guard, then I think that you have Salyer and Jonah compete on the left side for that other starting spot. But if you don't, I think Salyer is good enough to pencil in as your left guard starter and let Jonah compete on the right side with maybe a day two pick at guard over there. And I think that the floor for Salyer is just a good utility backup. He has starting experience all across the offensive line. I think he can start at any position except for center and at least get you through a stretch of games. But I think that my preferred vision for him and the way that I see it being best would be that Salyer is your starting left guard, but he is also the left tackle number two. And during the recording of this, the Dolphins also signed Charlie Heck, who has a lot more snaps at right tackle. And I'm going to do a video on him next. So the overall vision, and we'll get into it more in the Charlie Heck video, would be that Salyer's your starting left guard. He is the left tackle number two, and that Heck is your right tackle number two, where you don't have to really ask Salyer to flip sides. So let me know what you think in the comments of Salyer based on what you've now seen. Do you see him as a starting caliber guard? Do you like what you saw on the right side better than what you saw on the left side? And are there other players out there that you think are available and better options than Jamaree Salyer to come in and start for the Dolphins? As always, appreciate you guys watching, and we will be back again soon with the next film review video.